Welcome, welcome. Hello. We're going to go ahead and get started. I'm Ricky Thompson. I'm standing here so that the people on Zoom can see me for now. And then I'll flip the camera so they can see the group while we're going into conversation. I'm going to go ahead and let Cheryl Greengrove be the person to welcome us and all that stuff, and then we'll move back. So Cheryl, I have you live, and I'm going to go ahead and switch the camera so you can also see everybody out there.
Great, thank you. Welcome everyone, and I want to thank, before we start, I'd like to thank Media Services for making this possible, because this is our first hybrid in-person and online workshop that's sponsored by the Office of Research this year. So this is all an experiment. I've actually been doing this with my class a little bit because I've been out with knee surgery, and it works pretty well. So I just want to thank Media Services for all their help across campus before we start. Also, I want to thank Ricky Thompson and Emma Rose and Rachel Hirschberg before her for starting the Qualitative Forum. And Ricky has picked up where they've left off, and we're restarting that this year, which is great. So this is really Ricky's initiative, and we're just helping her make it happen. So before we start, I'd like to read a land acknowledgement. This is from Urban Studies, and I really like their land acknowledgement. So I'm going to read what they have. Every community owes its existence and vitality to generations from around the world who contributed to making the history that led to this moment. We recognize that all of us at UW Tacoma learn, live, and work on or near the unceded territory of the Coast Salish people. In particular, our campus is situated on the traditional lands of the Puyallup tribe. As we gather virtually and in person, we also want to acknowledge the lands of the Muckleshoot, Nisqually, Skokomish, Nahomish, and Sammamish, and Duwamish, and all traditional lands on which we live and work. We want to acknowledge the histories of dispossession and forced removal, and reflect on the history in ways that honor the memory of those dispossessed, and keep us committed to the cause of social justice for Indigenous populations. So thank you for joining us today, and I'm going to turn it over to our facilitator, Ricky Thompson. Take it away.
Thank you, Cheryl. Okay, so I'm going to continue moving between things here. I set up a Google Doc, and I'm realizing it would be great if I could give you all access to it, but I'm not quite sure if that'll be helpful to all of us. But I'm going to put the link in the chat for people who are at home, so that if they want to participate, they can. And I'm going to just put that there. Okay. So, all right, let me get started here. I'd like to say, actually, this was started, I talked to Emma Rose earlier today. This was originally started by Elaine Borsling. Did I pronounce her name correctly? Elaine Bjorling. And she was actually in the Office of Research at the time. And then Emma and Rachel took over. One of the things they did also create was a listserv. So I posted this, and I'll share this out also on UW Line with people who attended, so you can get access to it. But we do have a listserv that we will go ahead and reactivate. So if you are not already on it, you can go ahead and join. It's through the mailman system at UW. I always forget there's these weird lines on the screen in this room, but it's qual-edu. And so you can look up Qualitative Quorum. And just, I wanted to highlight that before I got started. And then we'll go ahead and talk about who's here. And I put together a few questions to get us started. I'm thinking I should make this a little bit bigger. Yeah. Oh, I need to share screen. Hang on. Yep. Sharing screen. So those of you who've been teaching online are feeling my pain right about now, I'm sure. Okay. So the questions I wanted to start with, just so we can kind of get to know each other, is who's here? And then also just thoughts that you might bring to the table. What are your research interests, so we can hear what everybody is interested in, what they're working on? Any experience you've already had with qualitative software, whether it's in vivo or other software. I know that the earlier group had worked with Deduce, I heard was kind of part of that project. And then also, what are you hoping to learn more about and get from the community? our goal here is to continue to have some support. I'm realizing I'm supposed to be admitting people and they don't automatically get admitted, unfortunately. Is there a way to do that while we're in process? Okay. I keep seeing people pop up. It's just too much to manage at once. And then the last thing are any burning questions you have. We also have, is Chris Fuentes here right now? Okay, great. Chris is here and he's going to talk to us about software options on campus. And we're also going to speak a little bit specifically about in vivo. This actually for me came out of, I started using in vivo this year. I started using hyper research a couple of years ago, and I've basically been trying to figure it out all on my own. And as most of us know, working and figuring things out like new software on your own can be really frustrating and a little bit isolating. And I thought, oh, I bet there's people on campus who've already been using it. And then I remembered, oh yeah, Emma had a group. Cheryl might have mentioned, hey, Emma had a group. So here we are. The goal is to kind of revitalize the Qualitative Quorum so that we could have some regular kind of get-togethers, create a community, hear what others are working on. Maybe there's somebody you want to work with that you want to connect with. My goal is low stress, connectivity, networking, and support. And also we have Cheryl from the Office of Research. So hopefully Cheryl will get a better sense of kind of what the needs are for people who are doing qualitative research on campus, which we know is traditionally not as well supported, I think, as some of the quantitative stuff. So, okay, I'll start with, I didn't actually write anything about who you are, but I guess we'll start with we'll go around the room. I'll pass the microphone. The microphone will allow you to be talking to people on Zoom. And then we'll also hear from people on Zoom. So those of you on Zoom, hopefully you can hear, I see some nodding heads, great. Let us know who you are, maybe what program you're in, and what your research interests are, and then any of these questions that you want to touch on, like experience and kind of burning questions. I'm Ricky Thompson. I'm in writing studies in IAS, and my research interest right now, I'm studying online dating, and I've done a bunch of interviews, and I'm analyzing textual data like dating platform interfaces, and then the websites that are put together to advertise to people. So I'm looking at kind of visual data and also textual data and also interview data, and trying to put those together for me is quite a new task, and it's been pretty daunting. As I mentioned, I used hyper research a little. It wasn't really friendly for my image stuff. I've been working with in vivo. I've probably inhaled every tutorial they made. And yesterday I spent the day at their conference and the online conference. I still have a million questions. So I'm hoping to also connect with people who have some skill sets I don't, to kind of chat with, and also collaborate around just research in general. So what would I like to learn more about? How to use this software more efficiently and not feel like I'm reinventing the wheel. And of course, what are some options for purchasing upgrades and maybe getting institutional licenses that make some of the software a little bit more manageable. I'm going to pass this over to the first person over here, which I think is going to be Erin actually, and then I'm going to change the camera so that, hang on. I'm going to pass you the microphone, then I'll turn the camera.
Hello, I'm Erin Casey in social work and criminal justice. Thanks, Ricky and Cheryl and Emma for putting this together. I do research on gender-based violence, response, and prevention, and would say that I am more of a mixed methods person. And so I've done qualitative research, but I think part of my goal in coming here is to connect with folks who are much more deeply theoretically and methodologically steeped in qualitative work. All of the qualitative projects I've done lately have been in Deduce, and I'd love to also connect with folks who have deeper expertise in using some of I have a surface level knowledge of what that can do, but the bells and whistles are a little beyond me at this point. So I'm here just to hear from folks. So. What's that? Yeah, that sounds good. I like that.
Yeah, you can hear me. Okay. Hi, everyone. Hello, everyone. I'm Emma Rose. I'm like Ricky, I'm in writing studies and IAS, and my research focus right now is on understanding how people who design for a living do that work, especially in big tech companies. So I study practices of user experience designers, and they themselves do a lot of qualitative work. So kind of a meta kind of analysis there. And then also I have another project that is looking on how we working with instructors who teach user experience and their practices. So I kind of have these two big projects that overlap from a pedagogy perspective and a practice perspective. I use Atlas TI on one of my projects because one of my colleagues at another institution paid for it and gave me a license. So that's the main reason I use that one. I also am looking at Tagit, which is a very stripped down, simple one for another project that does not have funding. So, and then I've used Hyper Research in the past. I've used a bunch of different ones. Saturate was one that I used for quite a long time, which I loved. It's very simple. So anyway, I also have done a lot of analysis without using software. So I think that there's like a whole range of things we can do. I am really just here for the community. Like, I feel like I always have questions that I'm like, where are my qual nerds that I can like talk through one of these questions with? So yeah, I'm here for the community and excited to chat with you all.
Cool. Hi, my name is Jessie Keset, and this is my first term teaching in the School of Urban Studies. So a lot of why I came here is just to meet people and say hi. Oh, Jessie, Jessi, and my last name is Quizar. There's no E on the end of Jessie. Yeah. Okay. So, so most of my research is on the city of Detroit and organizing that's happened in Detroit. So I've done a lot of ethnographic work and interviewing kinds of stuff around that. And then right now I'm working on a project that's about gentrification and sort of narratives of boosterism and gentrification, which involves a lot of textual analysis. So, so that's my research. I have tried to use in vivo, and I was not 100% good at it, I will say. But I am really interested in getting better at it because I think there's a lot of really exciting ways to use it. I've largely done these like really kind of like brute methods, like where I like print everything out and highlight and put a bunch of sticky notes and all this other kind of stuff. So it's not, that's, I'm a little old school like that, but I'm down to get a little newer school if maybe with some help.
Hi, I'm Rebecca Disrud, Director of the Writing Center, and I also teach some classes in writing studies. I'm mainly here just to learn and hear what other people are working on. My main research interest right now is inquiry-based learning. So that's the thing that I am focusing on at the moment.
Hello, everyone. My name is Chris Fuentes. I am the IT project manager here on campus. So I work in the IT department. I'm a staff member. I do various projects across campus. I focus on doing work with faculty and staff around research, usually assisting them with tools that they may need or questions they have about security. I do a lot of data security exercises as well as suggestions around how to better secure your data, especially here at UW. And I also work with various departments on lots of different projects that are focused on improving the experience for faculty, staff, and students. So you'll see a lot of our technology projects that have gone live that some of you probably use to do stuff with other departments, such as the student check-in system, the food form, and stuff like that. So I help design and then work with our developers to create that. I'm mainly here to kind of hear what's going on in terms of the research area and obviously with the technology tools that are being used for qualitative data analysis. I do have background in terms of what's available and what it takes to get some of these licenses to users. And yeah, so I'm just here for any questions around purchasing and costs and whatnot. So.
My name is Margaret Lundberg, and I work on staff in the Writing Center. I'm currently writing my dissertation, so I'm like about as neophyte as you can get, working with narrative construction of identity among mature women students within the institutional habitus of the University of Washington, Tacoma. So really, really small and narrow. And I'm about as old school as you can get. So everything that I've done has been done completely by hand. What I did with examining narratives, I've literally looked at entire stories. Coding was useless. I went for theme and then took it apart from there. But I have all this data that when this little project is done, that I'd like to do something else with. And getting a look at some of the stuff that's out there is really interesting to me, because then maybe I can find another way to work with this stuff. So basically that means I know nothing about the software and I'm here to learn. So
good afternoon, everyone. I'm Justin Wadland, he, him, his pronouns. My title is Head Digital Scholarship. I'm in the library. I am here because the area that I work in is really to support the scholarship on campus, to support research. I work closely with another librarian named Erica Bailey, who's a data and digital scholarship librarian. A lot of our work overlaps in significant ways, so we collaborate a lot. One area that I would highlight, just kind of want to talk about, is I'm the manager for our institutional repository, Digital Commons, which is the platform that you can use to share traditional scholarship, like published scholarship. We have a number of collections related to that. And I also just generally support open access to research. I'm going to use this as an opportunity to plug an event that I haven't yet had a chance to promote yet, but it's going to be next week on Wednesday at 12:30 in this room. We're sort of rebooting something that's called the Open Scholar Cafe. It's not going to be as formatted as this. It's basically a drop-in space where you can come and just talk to us about, you can have an author profile created that features your research, your published research, and any other kind of material you want to share, answer questions about what resources are available from the library to store and provide access to materials, and really anything or sort of around the research and publishing process. I'll be sending out an email and posting stuff about that. Yeah, it's going to be Wednesday at 12:30, Wednesday, November 10th in this room. And Open Scholar Cafe. There will be donuts, though I'm not sure if we can actually eat them together, but we'll have bags and you can safely consume them in the rain outside, maybe. I don't know, bring an umbrella. If they get eaten in other places, I'm not gonna call the COVID police on you. Anyhow, so yeah, we're sort of experimenting with a hybrid format, and so you can also join us online. Sorry, we don't have, maybe we'll have some virtual donuts. Anyhow, I'm actually the research, I'm here to learn. I've done different kinds of research. I'm also a creative writer, and a lot of my work has been based in historical documents and synthesizing them, but not using any formal tool to do that, but just reading a lot of them. I'm interested in just learning more of what's available. A couple of research projects that I want to work on are actually directly related to the work that I do with Digital Commons. One of them is to talk to the campus about what the future is of this tool. There are a number of challenges around it. And so I'd almost like to look at using some tools to inquire with you all about how we can make decisions about this tool, because I don't want to get into the weeds with that, but there are some important things to talk about. Digital Commons, yeah. The other is I'm attending the Indigenizing Pedagogy Institute that Robin Minthorn is leading, and I specifically want to do some work with looking at the electronic theses and dissertation process, which is based on a Western model of knowledge, and how can that be indigenized? And we have a cohort of Indigenous students on our campus, and so again, I'd like to look at, is it appropriate to use these tools in that context if we're having some conversations? So those are my interests.
Hi, everybody. Jan Derewichter. I'm also with Jessie in the School of Urban Studies, and I'm here for two reasons. One, I wanted to crawl out from under the Zoom rock and actually spend time with people talking about research, but mostly, and I'm here with Cheryl as a member of the Research Advisory Committee. So I think it's really interesting to learn about all the different kinds of research going on and hear what kinds of questions my colleagues are asking and what their needs are. But also, as an individual researcher, I've got several projects going on, but the one I think that I'm really interested in maybe hooking up with other people working on, including Justin, is Charles Williams and I have just started a new project looking at the New Deal in Tacoma. And that's taking me back to my old days of looking at archives, really deep archives, and being a little smarter about that. And so like everyone else, or what are some tools that maybe I haven't used? And just talking with others who actually are engaging in archival historical work, particularly as a non-historian. So I'm feeling a little insecure about my qualifications to do this research. So anybody doing that kind of work, I'm really interested in the kind of challenges and organizational skills and strategies you've accumulated and just sharing those experiences. But great to be here, great to be out from under the rock, and looking forward to more conversation.
Thank you all. I did ask people to feel free to jump in the document and fix things like, Jan, I didn't know how to spell your last name and apparently your first name correctly either. So Cheryl, help me out. Thank you. If there's, obviously I'm note taking really quickly. So if those of you who are online, feel free to jump in. I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to the people who are on Zoom. And then there are a couple people who couldn't be here who sent me a little information based on a email. And we're at 5 to 1 right now. Our goal is to be out at 20 after. So I think we're making good progress. Let's see. I'm just going to go with who's on my screen. Sharon, I see you first. If you can go ahead and unmute yourself, and then I'll put down my mic and hopefully we're good.
Thank you, Ricky, and it's good to see you again. It's been a while since I've seen you. My name is Sharon Lang, and I'm in the School of Nursing and Healthcare Leadership. The research that I typically do, more quantitative research, so I'm really kind of venturing out very delicately into the realm of qualitative research, and I'm really quite appreciative and quite grateful for the opportunity to work with scholars who have been doing this kind of work. My specific domain of scholarship is really thinking about how I can adapt existing wireless technology to best support the healthcare needs of underserved communities so that they can best access the healthcare system. Currently, I'm working with some students involved in some Zoom interviews with some communities in the South Sound area, particularly BIPOC communities from Vietnam, India, Africa, African Americans as well. And the goal is to really understand their experience at this time. Now, I really do want to support my students in their evaluation and interpretation of these narratives. And so my hope is through this collaboration and certainly engagement with this group, I can best support their work in terms of evaluating qualitative data. So thank you really for the opportunity to be part of this very strong group. Thanks, Ricky.
Thank you, Sharon. Welcome. Next on my screen is Denise Drevdahl.
Hey, Ricky. Hey, hi, everybody. Unlike Jan, I like my rock just fine, and I'm going to stay here until they make me pry me out. So I've done nothing but qualitative research since my master's thesis about an eon or two ago. And so I've used Atlas TI, Hyper Research, and then Vivo. I don't currently have a project, but you never know what may arise. And in the past, I've probably the two most recent projects had to do with patient decision-making about cancer care and nurses making decisions about going to graduate school. So all my experience has been with interview data. And I don't have any questions, just interested. I can do the basics of in vivo, but I've never, it just takes too long to figure out the bells and whistles, and it'd be nice if somebody helped me figure it out. So thanks.
Thank you. You're in nursing, right? Not social work.
Oh, sorry about that. Yes, nursing and healthcare leadership. Sorry.
That's great. Nandita.
Hi, everyone. My name is Nandita. My pronouns are she, her. I'm an assistant professor at the School of Social Work and Criminal Justice. Most of my research, I think all my research so far has been qualitative. I'm currently just finishing up data collection on a project where I'm working with survivors of domestic violence and domestic violence agencies in Tacoma, California, and in India. And so just sitting with heaps of data, wondering if I should switch to software. I've done all my coding so far as track changes on Word document. I find that the easiest, but I'm really looking forward to learning more about NVivo, Atlas TI, the license prices that we have to pay. I'm also working in a team of 3 other people. So how do we use the software collaboratively? How do we do coding as a team? And a lot of my data is not in English. A lot of my data is in Spanish, it's in Bengali, it's in Hindi. So I am spending a lot of time transcribing in the original language, then translating. So I'm really interested to hear, what all of you think. It's taking up a lot of time. Honestly, because I work mostly with diverse groups of women. So any suggestions any of you have, don't transcribe, just listen to the recording and start your analysis at that point. So I'm really excited that this community exists. I was very happy to see the email, and I hope we can continue these conversations. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much. Next, I have Michelle Garner.
Hi, I am also in social work and criminal justice, and I have done both quantitative and qualitative and mixed methods work over time. So my general interests are around mental health and wellness, and I have ended up gravitating to community partnerships and kind of doing investigations. And so mixed methods makes a lot of sense with a lot of those. I had Atlas on an old computer that I refused to give up for a long time because I didn't want to lose the software. It was so expensive to buy in the first place. So I'm interested in gaining community here, seeing what works for other people. In the end, I also tend to gravitate towards old school with a whole bunch of printouts and multicolored Post-its and highlighters and all the rest of that. So yeah, newer, better ways and community with a good thing. Thanks for getting us all together and reviving this.
Great, thank you very much. Okay, I'm going to pull up these two. They're at the bottom right now. I'll move them. So Rachel Hirschberg was not here today. She's IAS. I actually had a plan, but I got to move this. Rachel Hirschberg, she is in IAS. I guess I got all her pictures. That's in my plan. She's in the psychology program. I'll just give you a visual. And she actually was part of setting up the listserv with Emma. She said she does community-based and participatory research. She looks at the impacts of detention and deportation on migrant families and communities, how families and communities maintain ties and wellness despite damaging systems. Also, she looks at critical consciousness development in youth from different backgrounds and relationship to well-being. She's used NVivo on and off since 2007, and she owns 2 licenses, which I was very curious here what that means. She wants to learn more about efficient ways to develop, submit, and publish qualitative scholarship, which is reminding me there's a whole frame of people who are looking at doing the lit review in NVivo. There's a lot of work on that lately. And then providing more qualitative training to undergraduates on campus because she works a lot with students involved in her research. And then her questions are, what kind of qualitative training opportunities do we have for students? What more can we provide? She teaches qual methods in her community psychology and immigrant youth and families course. And then she also knows there are classes taught in, I think she means equity, gender, and language, or labor studies. She wrote EG within IS. Can we put a list together and combine resources? We have a social science research methods minor in psychology, and can we do anything to better support teaching of qual methods for students? So a lot of Rachel's questions are also based on supporting students with this work. I see something in the chat. Okay, great. So Donald Shin is in SET, and he's computer science education. And he also would like to continue being connected to us. So he wrote a few things. I love how some people did bullets and some people did prose. As a writing teacher, this just I nerded out on this differences. Probably doesn't mean anything to anybody. Okay, so he had said the high level view of his current work is to understand power in the classroom. And he means relationships that form or develop a classroom between teacher and student. He's focusing on formal power, like the formal roles between teacher and professor and student, and then power by expertise, like relationships and how kinds of knowledge and skills are transferred. And then he has video data from both a lecture and a discussion sections. He calls them tutorials from his introduction to computer science class. He's focused analysis on the tutorials. They're generally taught by senior or graduate students. So the role is a little different from instructor of the course, and there's more interaction in the tutorials than in the lecture. So some of the questions he's considering are like, how do the tutor and student interact when discussing a problem-solving task? What are the conventions regarding who gets to speak? What constitutes a reasonable solution or explanation? And patterns of interaction that can be discerned. How are the ways tutor interacts with students differing depending on whether the tutor has expertise related to the problem or topic at hand? I realized I wanted to ask Donald right now, is this for a face-to-face situation or a hybrid learning environment or an online class? Because from just that whole difference kind of shifts these questions, I think. In the recent work on analyzing this data, he's been using a method developed by Michael Roth in the book Rigorous Data Analysis, Beyond Anything Goes. The idea is to analyze the video without any preconceived notion or rules or intentions. In a nutshell, if we're able to make any conclusions about the interactions and relationships, we do so based on interactions themselves as the unit of analysis. The method is useful. It forces researchers to look at video data as though when we're in the room as participants experience it, not as we imagine they are experience it. It's different from a cognitive approach. I'm also thinking how some of the QDA softwares don't deal well with video and some do, which is why I shifted to in vivo personally. And I wasn't even looking at video, I was just looking at still images. He'd like to learn more about ways of interrogating this kind of data that might complement the above approach, hearing about research projects and methods, maybe give him some ideas. With software experience, none. I know people use in vivo and other software. I'd like to learn about it and other software to see if it helps. And no burning questions. Okay, so with that, I think, I don't think there's anybody else in the room. Let me double check. Oh no, there's more people. I'm so sorry, I didn't see them. It looked like there was no arrow. Annie, I'm gonna start with you. How many people do we have? I gotta double check. Okay, great, all right, manageable.
Okay, good afternoon. My name is Annie Downey. I am the director of the library. I have 3 strands of research that I really focus on. 2 of them feed directly into my work in the library. First, Emma, I will have to touch base with you because I am a user experience researcher. And so I plan to do some projects in the library, and I'm excited about that. The other area of research that I do that feeds directly into my work is I study feminist management, and especially how feminist management feeds into how we do our work in libraries. But what I'm really excited about with in vivo and hoping to learn more tools with in vivo is for a project that I've been working on for years, and as I envision it, sort of the last half of my career project. Which is critiquing and correcting the history of women in librarianship in the United States, especially gender nonconforming people. So that's what I'm hoping to use in vivo for. I have messed around with Atlas TI in grad school. It was too expensive to use for my dissertation, so I used Deduce. I was in that cohort that lost a bunch of data, so now I'm very mistrustful of it. And so I'm very excited about learning in vivo and seeing what I can do with that. No burning questions, thank you.
Great, thank you. I'll move on to Devon.
Hello, everyone. My name is Devon Woodard. I am in the School of Urban Studies with Jan and Jessie. I am also new to the School of Urban Studies, and my current research is extending and replicating the research that I did for my dissertation, which was understanding the ways in which historical racism, both physical and social, are embedded in contemporary contestations of race and place in Chicago and Johannesburg, both online and offline. So I was looking at particularly latent frames of Blackness that were used by municipalities in engaging Black communities, and then how those communities interacted and engaged with those frames. Using mostly discourse analysis and frame analysis. I generally do mixed methods, both quantitative qualitative and qualitative qualitative mixed methods, digital ethnography, regular ethnography, social network analysis. I've used mostly in vivo. And I do have to say that I have to jump off soon because Justin's colleague, Erica Bailey, will be joining my class in a few minutes and talking about digital scholarship. So thank you.
Thank you. I'll go to Jeff next.
Okay, so Devon, before you go, I need your help.
Okay.
So yeah, my name is Jeff Walters, and we need to work on some stuff together. Right? You need to teach me some stuff. I'm in the SET, or School of Engineering and Technology, and my research is focused mostly on trying to understand how people understand complex systems. And have used a number. I mean, it's kind of scary. I've been doing this for a while, but I'm not trained in how to do this properly. I've done a lot of, coding and analysis using in vivo, deduce, to pull out causality and understanding of complexity and interactions, mostly focusing on water, sanitation, hygiene development in East Africa and South America. But it's been like, it's been learned on the streets. You know what I'm saying? Like, I need some help to actually know how to do this more rigorously. Discourse analysis is very interesting to me because I want to get beyond sort of the sentence, so to speak, or beyond sort of an understanding of more inferring understanding and identity, specifically related to engineering identity and how students sort of place themselves within engineering and why are certain students leaving engineering? And I would contend that it's because there's a culture and an identity that doesn't sort of align with theirs. So looking at sort of identity using discourse analysis is something I've been thinking about. So Devon, I need some help. And that's where I'd see a lot of a future direction going. But really, what I'm interested in is using machine learning to pull out causality from sort of semi-structured interviews to see, is it possible to take in transcripts and then output systems diagrams that can be discussed by people? And it's just like, it blows my mind. That'd be so cool, but I have no idea how to do that as well. And so I need a lot of help from people on how to use in vivo better, how to use or deduce. Deduce now seems sort of scary to me because I didn't realize people were losing data. That would freak me out. But I use deduce a lot. But just wanting to know how to do this better. I mean, I sort of know the tools, but I don't know the best practices. I've read some books, but again, I need some help from people who are real sort of qualitative researchers. And again, my methods are mixed methods, and I've been just sort of bootstrapping it together, and I need some sort of formal, it's a formal community of practice with people who actually know this stuff. So thank you.
Great. Thank you, Jeff. I should tell you, I do identity and discourse analysis too, as a side note. So we should probably talk. Kathy, I'll turn it to you. Oh, Matthew. Yeah, you got to unmute yourself. I keep not seeing where you're going. There you are.
Sorry. Yes. Anyway, I hope you can hear and see me okay. I was having connectivity problems. I had to leave and come back. I am retired and have been for a while, and just lately thinking about missing being in a community of researchers. almost all of my research has been using qualitative methods, the old-fashioned way, primarily looking at mixed race identity and mixed race conceptions in historical context over the life course in older people of mixed race, but also research in people in the Salishan Public Housing Project. And I'd like to learn some of the software because I'm really out of date there. But anyway, I'm just sort of sticking my toe back in the water to see what I want to do. Really, what I'd like to do is be a part of a group, a team of researchers, to kick ideas around and learn from each other, support each other. So that's where I'm at right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy. We heard you just fine. And then we'll
Good.
go to Eric.
Hi, everybody. I'm Eric Mathis. I'm in social work and criminal justice. I am a qualitative researcher. I've done mixed methods work with colleagues and collaborations, but really sort of my expertise and most of my research is sort of in-depth interviews and ethnography. That's sort of my training and background and sort of most of my work. In general, my work focuses on sort of hate and violence. So looking at hate crimes and supremacist organizations, looking at school shootings and mass shootings, school violence and the school to prison pipeline, and these kinds of things. And some work sort of doing some contemporary work, some work right now on sort of some ethnographic work on dark tourism and some work on in schools around threat assessment and sort of the outcomes around those kinds of things for different populations and sort of the successes and failures around that. I have a grant to do that with some communities around Washington State and also in Oregon. And I have some experience with both in vivo and deduce, though I will also say that I sometimes am a fan that I think that stuff can be helpful sometimes, but also sometimes just like sticky notes and folders tend to be good too. So I think lots of things can be useful in different ways. But yeah, I'm generally happy to see you all and meet people who I haven't met before. My main motivation here is just to sort of meet more people who are doing research, particularly qualitative research to talk to and have a community. So nice to see you all.
Thank you, Eric. I'll go to David.
Good afternoon. I'm David Reyes. I'm an associate professor in School of Nursing Healthcare Leadership. And my research has been primarily qualitative, although I've been sort of venturing into some mixed methods work as well. And in my qual methods really have included both sort of interview formats, semi-structured interviews, as well as focus group, a lot of that. And then also using workshop methodology with sticky notes and community members. So my research is really community-based research. And within that is actually developing community residents and members as research associates, if you will, and having them actually facilitate conversations with their friends, their neighbors, so that it really creates for me an equity perspective and how do we decolonize research. And then to also include them in some of the ways in which we analyze and then look at what are potential solutions. So in terms of my focus, or I'll say foci, I'm engaged in population-based work, particularly in communities, to help assess priorities for livability, and then how those get translated into policy and environmental change. I work particularly with the Tacoma County Health Department, so it is also about what's driving health improvement within the region, as well as with system partners. My experience, I have a license for in vivo. I have been using it off and on for the last probably 4 or 5 years. And I know that they just came out with in vivo 12. I just saw a demo at a conference just a couple of weeks ago, and actually it was pretty exciting. I'm using 11. And I actually use it as more of an adjunct. I'm kind of old school too, and I get out the highlight and the sticky notes and start kind of there. And then I actually then use in vivo as kind of the next step of analysis. So that really kind of drives how I do my analysis for that. And I'm here really just to re-engage with this community. I was involved early on, and to learn what other folks are doing, and also really interested in partnerships and in ways which there's intersectionality with the work that I do as well as some of you. So it's great to be here. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much. Okay, I'll turn this. Oh, one more, Emily, thank you. I'm so glad you all are here helping me because I can't do this alone. It takes a village. Emily, let's hear from you.
I'm really pleased to see so many people here. Thank you. I'm Emily Ignacio. I know many of you, Kathy, I miss you. Sociologist that works in the ethnic, gender, and labor studies, major in SHS. I guess my current research is one of them is I've recently connected with some Filipino vets that are in the area that really want to get their voices heard about their experiences working in the US military, but also settling here in Washington State. So I'll be doing a lot of interviews, conducting a lot of interviews with them using a narrative analysis because they really want to have their stories heard. Given that a lot of my research is focused on the production of meaning, I use a lot of the method of instances by George Satis and conversation analysis, which doesn't lend itself very well to using software. And so it's pretty much old school sticky notes. But the other reason that I'm here is that I've been really deeply involved over the last 15 years in this international conference called the International Congress of Qualitative Inquiry. And now I'm on the executive board, and I wanted to invite everybody here to consider presenting their material and their students' material, if you work with students at the International Congress of Qualitative Inquiry. It's icqi.org. I can put it in the chat. What I do with ICQI is kind of a meta-analysis of qualitative research in general. So a lot of my most recent work has been on the pros and cons of using different kinds of qualitative methods. So for example, QDA is really good, qualitative data analysis, if you're wanting to find out like general trends and how people are conveying things. But when you want to look at more interpretive things, like how it is that people are making meaning out of certain phrases or certain images, and we need to think about doing, other kinds of qualitative methods. So things like that, that's those are the conversations that we have at the ICQI, plus also showcasing people's work. Chris Beasley had taken his students there a couple of years ago, and I was pleased with that. So anyway, I'm glad that we have this group here. I also would encourage anybody who is teaching qualitative methods to list their courses for the SSRM minor. I've been involved with that from the start, and it's growing, and I'm really also happy about that, that our students are learning about qualitative research and methods.
Emily, what's the minor again, real quick? I was typing it in.
Oh, sorry, SSRM, the social science research methods minor that Rachel had mentioned. We started with 2 classes, but now we've got several classes, including indigenous methodologies. That's taught by Dr. Montgomery.
Great, thank you. I think I got everybody. Is there anyone I missed on here? I'm doing a quick, well, I see Andrea Gallagher. I see we're at 1:21, and our goal was to wrap up since a lot of people have class in 9 minutes, including myself. Andrea, would you like to say a quick hello? And then I'm thinking also, Chris, we've given you a lot to work with. I don't know if you have anything you want to absolutely say before we go, or maybe you could put together anything that we can share in the group afterwards, thoughts for next meeting. So Chris will send us cost structures. I realize I have the mic and I have to give it to him so those who can't hear. So we'll get cost structures from Chris. Andrea, would you like to say a quick hello so that we can then wrap up? I'm sorry, I didn't see you earlier.
Oh, that's okay. I've just been listening. I'm just lurking, really. I work in the Office of Research work for Lisa Izazaki. And my qualitative analysis was entirely in IT. I worked for Amazon before I came to UW. And, I had constant reporting that involved metrics. You couldn't make a decision or do anything unless you had years worth of data behind you. And so I'm trying to kind of apply that as well within the UW structure.
Great, thank you very much. All right, so I can't believe we actually ran out of time and we just barely got to know each other. Thank you all for being here. I'm gonna wrap us up. I'm gonna go ahead and get the information from Chris about licenses and different software. I think we've given him a good sense of what we're working with, what we're interested in. We'll put together another meeting. My plan is to do one next quarter, like try to do one, at least one a quarter, depending on where people's interests and schedules are. I am going to go ahead and start posting also through the Qualitative Quorum listserv. So please jump on, subscribe. I'll also send stuff to UW Line so more people can join us. It sounds like we have a lot of really exciting things people are working on, and a lot of people are looking for other people to work with. So I want to thank Cheryl also for supporting this through the Office of Research. And I'll let her also say a goodbye. I don't know if I see her on here now. Gotta love Zoom. Yeah, I think she's gone. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna wrap up. Anybody have any burning things they want to say before, and I'll hand you the mic? No, it's silent. This is like class. Perfect. Okay, thank you for being here. Those of you online, and we'll send a recording out so people can watch later, and feel free to jump in on the notes page and update your stuff. You could see I barely got everybody's basic stuff. Thank you all for being here. It's good to see some of you in person and those of you on Zoom. Bye.
Bye, good meeting you.